The meeting has been called to order. First order of business is to approve the minutes from last meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Michael, so moved. The motion's been moved by Michael. In a second?
Second.
Okay, Rich, I saw Rich first, Linda. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Any comments, suggestions, or corrections? Seeing none, I'll ask for your vote. All in favor for approving the minutes? Raise your
Aye.
hand. Thank you. Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Fantastic. Is there any unfinished business? Seeing none, no unfinished business, we'll move to the chairman's report. So luckily, or unluckily, well, let me just make a statement. So again, Judy Moon. Michon?
Michonne,
Oh, sorry, Judy. So
no
welcome.
worries. Thank you.
I think this
Well-
is your first official meeting.
My first official, correct.
Congratulations. I don't know if that is, but you'll take it as it comes.
We'll see.
We'll see. So welcome, Judy. Chairman's
Thank-
report. I have nothing to report this month, so we're going to move directly into the executive director's report.
Okay, thank you,
Okay, Tom?
thank you, Mr. Chair. List of action items from the last meeting. We're to provide members with materials from the February 14th meeting, and that's being addressed accordingly. I was to confirm whether the noise program funding is included in the existing PFC application and provide clarification, Mr. Scussel. I did provide him information, just so the board is aware. Phases 1 through 5 of the RSIP were included in the 2020 through 2023 PFC approved application. Phase 6 is in the currently approved PFC application, which will expire March 1st, 2026. And the current work will be included in the PFC application that is being developed. Just a note, the PFC covers the sponsor share of the RSIP projects. The remainder is from the Part 150 program. The next action item, we're going to provide Mr. Scussel with the source and use for various funding sources for projects. Again, I provided Mr. Scussel with a packet on that. Milena was to share a handout summarizing December holiday travel season operational updates with the board, and that's been done. Tom C will cover the HEPA filter update and the DOCHI. I was to provide a report on the total number of homes that will be soundproofed in this current effort. It's estimated that 6 homes will be addressed. This is based on the current level of funding available for a total project of $599,900, estimating each project to cost about $100,000. So that will be 6 homes. The remaining 6 will be included in a subsequent project as funding dictates. And at this point, prior to the current RSIP project, there have been 155 properties with 181 dwellings that have been addressed with a value of $7,745,537. The last action item was getting a copy of the homeowners agreement to Mr. Scussel, and that has been completed as well. I'd just like to remind board members that your conflict of interest statements are due. Please send them on to Milena. Next item on my agenda, we had an environmental stewardship committee meeting yesterday. Topics covered were the noise website, the sound insulation program update, status of the current RSIP project, the HEPA filters, and Revo nitrogen station. Regarding our audit, we received an extension until February 28th to submit the 2024 audit. Draft reports were sent to the audit committee on February 3rd, and other board members were asked if they wanted a copy. We received no comments. Well, we received one minor comment from Mr. Scussel today, and I've addressed that. And there's a resolution tonight for your consideration to approve the 2024 audit report from PFC audit. Next, I have the compliance audit is currently underway. We're continuing to work on that, and that will be presented at the March board meeting. Just an update on the meeting we're going to have with the CAA, Robert and myself, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. We have scheduled for March 12th to meet with the new CAA director. Want to update the board on a grant that the city the city of New Haven has received a CTDOT grant for a micro transit to provide a shared ride service to and from Tweed, the Union Station in downtown. It's a minivan service and that's scheduled to begin mid-March. I think I may have stole that from Tom. That's probably your report. I apologize. Also, a unified planning work program is an application that was submitted to the South Central Regional Council of Governments for a study to cover local intersections, Proto Drive enhancements, Shoreline Greenway Trail, and roadway extensions. And statistics, I apologize, they came in late. We did update the agenda that should be posted on the website, and it should have been sent to the board members. The only thing missing was the statistics. However, give you an update on that. For November of 2024, we had a 26% increase in passenger enplanements over last November. Year-to-date enplanements are up by 17%. And through November, for a 12-month period, we totaled 565,201 enplanements. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you, Tom. Any comments or questions for Tom?
Yeah, just two, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Tom or Mr. Chairman, has there been any continued discussion or update from the governor's office and the DOT regarding the albatross at Short Beach and Hemingway and Cove? Addressing the flooding road issues? I know you reported last meeting. I just wonder if there's been any further discussions or progress.
There's been no further discussions, Ken, with the governor's office directly on that subject.
Okay. And Tom, on the enplanements, does that include the month or two that Breeze Airways have been here? Or
I don't believe that's, let me see, that's only through November. I don't think they
Okay.
started in December.
They didn't start till December, right?
Right.
All right, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Ken. Any other comments or questions for Tom?
This may,
Yes,
Judy
Judy.
speaking. Yeah, in regard to Short Beach Road and Hemingway, I think, is that something that's under discussion in the flooding area? No, it's not near the water, but it's a corner that floods all the time, and I know that Hemingway may be under discussion in general.
So I don't have that specific area recalled. I can tell you that the DOT is doing an extensive exploratory planning for corrective action based on the meeting that we had with DOT and the governor's office, that's in their planning.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Any other questions or comments for the executive director? Seeing none, we'll move on to Serena and the Finance Committee's report.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Tom is going to do the report for us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Serena. Tom?
Thank you, Serena. In the airfield account, the revenues for December, excluding the lessee subsidy of $268,859 in total, came in 44,118 better than budget. The actual subsidy was under budget by 26,598 for the month. Year to date, the revenue, including the 1.2 million subsidy, were 383,015, better than budgeted by 157,489. On the expenses in the airfield account for December, the actual expenses came in over budget by 17,519. We've been given a list of explanations for that. There were a number of one-time expenses. Year-to-date expenses, 1,586,000 are still below budget by 400,204. In the admin account, revenues for December were below budget by 19,603. Year-to-date actual revenues of $341,348 are below budget by $169,051. However, on the expenses for the month, they were $19,201 under budget. Year-to-date, actual expenses were under budget by $241,270. Actual net results for the admin fund for December were negative $8,412, and year-to-date at this point, we're still a positive $10,476 against the budget of negative $61,743. The balance sheet, the fund balance at the end of this period is $392,700. Overall, the liabilities and fund balance are $1,597,124. That's financial report.
Thank you, Tom. Any comments or questions for Tom and or Serena on the Finance Committee? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Serena. Thank you, Tom, for that report. We'll move on to airfield operations. Jeremy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Few items to note for airfield operations. We've had during the month of January, since our last meeting, we've had 3 significant weather events, averaging approximately 3 inches per storm. We, working closely with the airlines. Most of those occasions, the airlines have elected to cancel flights and leave their aircraft at other locations, which allowed us to do some cleaning for the next business day and have good conditions for resumed operations. We appreciate the partnership and close collaboration with all of our air carriers working through those events. And so we are this week we were looking towards a significant event, but that storm is going to move out to and miss us, so we might get a couple inches, but I think we dodged a big storm this week, so we're thankful for that. Our team is sometimes like I've said before, the ice and the slush and the sleet can tend to be just as grueling as the storms that have significant accumulation. So our teams have still been putting in some long hours, so glad we're going to give them some rest there. Second item, fuel farm, the temporary fuel farm at Robinson Aviation. I got an update today from the owner, and all of the equipment is on site. They're ready to work with the vendor to configure the systems and get them up and running for operation. And we'll be working with them closely through that process, getting them inspected and certified to get them working in the coming weeks. And then thirdly, our FAA, our annual safety inspection is now scheduled for April 22nd through the 24th. We got notice from FAA last week or so. So that's a tentative schedule. I don't anticipate that timeline to change, but we're preparing for that as well. FAA has also notified us that they will be on site on February 26th to do some other targeted inspections, as they do from time to time. So we'll be hosting them on February 26th in the next week or so. And that concludes the airside portion of my report. Any questions?
Any questions or comments for Jeremy on airfield operations specifically? Great, thank you, Jeremy. Seeing none, we'll move on to the Lisi report, please.
Sure. Just 2 items to focus on for this month. As you may have heard, Friday was our busiest travel day on record. Tom's going to spend a little bit of time in his report highlighting this weekend in particular. But on February 13th, as leading up to the weekend, many of you may have seen in the news, we did have a security event here at the airport involving a passenger on an outbound flight making some comments that were probably inappropriate for the environment that he was in. So I just want to say, give our thanks to our law enforcement partners, New Haven Police, State Police, FBI, for their response and support during that event. We've had some a hot wash following that event earlier this week. Just kind of talking through, we're always looking at reviewing our plans and looking to make improvements and better coordination and communications. And so we'll continue in that effort as we work towards, I think this year we're scheduled for our tabletop exercise. So we'll be incorporating some of the real world events that occur into that. So, all in all, we did experience some delays, but the feedback that I, saw and heard from customers was that they're appreciative of us taking the extra steps to ensure their safety in their travel experience. And so we'll continue to work with our law enforcement partners as we as we continue to grow with the airport. That requires us to put more resources, training and equipping employees to deal with those types of situations, which will probably become more frequent. More people that come through, you tend to see more of those types of incidents. And then finally, to continue to grow with the airport, I mentioned last month, we are working towards several improvements to the facility. That includes traffic, but also the departures terminal. We have had meetings with TSA as well as the city on our preliminary plans to add a third lane and to reconfigure the queuing space. So we've got some final feedback from TSA. We'll be going back to the city on some of their initial comments and try to finalize the design, and we'll go put that with our engineers and put together some more formal drawings that we'll submit for continued consideration by the city, and we'll move forward with that. So that's that concludes the lessee report, and I'll hand it over to Tom to continue some remarks for over the weekend, as well as some other talking points that he'd like to discuss.
Yeah, before we move to Tom, excuse me, Tom. So just a question for you, maybe two.
Mhm.
In terms of the response time from our security personnel, local security, was that within the benchmarks that are set?
Yeah, so New Haven Police is on site 1.5 hours prior to any air carrier departure. And they are on site 30 minutes after. So they were here at the time of the incident was called in. They were there within minutes, less than 3 minutes at the aircraft. They did do an initial, they were the one that interviewed the passenger, took him off the plane, and they managed that incident at that point. And then the second piece of that, we did request canines to do a bomb search. So I think it was like maybe a 30-minute response time for those. Those are an off-site resource. During the week, you will have a better response time for those types of resources. Weekends might be a little bit longer. But in my experience, it was typically within a reasonable time frame to expect those resources to arrive on site. And they did a very thorough job, inspecting the aircraft, doing a thorough search of the terminal, as well as some targeted inspections of passengers.
Good. And in terms of my second question, in terms of the third lane and the TSA, what's the timeline on that design?
So, I think we're pretty close to having a final design to submit to the city. Again, we've had preliminary discussions with the city just to give them some conceptual concepts of what we're looking at. But I think, it would be reasonable to expect that we would have the project completed by late spring, early summer timeframe. So that's our goal. I don't think the construction piece will take long. It's probably more the permitting and we do have some specialized equipment coming from the TSA, which we understand is ready and available. But we're also looking at some ways to create some more efficiencies with checked baggage, getting it from the ticketing trailer into the departure terminal. So it's less stress and time consuming for the traveler to take their bag from the ticketing trailer into the departure terminal and then go online. This will be direct. More would you experience at another commercial service airport where you leave your bag where you get your bag tag and go directly to the queue line.
Excellent. So, excuse me, any questions or comments for Tom? Obviously, we had a significant event here a week or so ago around security and execution. There's plans on the table for passenger mitigation around TSA and ticketing going into the busier months around spring and into the summer months. So if there's specific questions, I said Tom, excuse me, Jeremy. If there's specific questions for Jeremy in terms of the most recent incident, security-wise or operationally, in terms of passenger not mitigation, but speeding up the passenger fluency through security checkpoints, I'd like to open up the discussion for any questions or comments regarding those specific topics. Any questions regarding those specific topics? Fantastic. Excellent review, Jeremy. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the community engagement report with Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And you know, after I run through some of these community updates, I'll also outline a few of the other steps that we've taken to improve the passenger experience and some of the lessons that we took out of the holiday travel period and had implemented in the period since to you know, result in some positive outcomes. But before that, I just wanted to say we've had several productive discussions with residents, community organizations, industry groups, tourism and economic development partners over the past month. And so on the economic development front, we had attended the Greater New Haven Chambers Legislative Breakfast, which was held at Southern Connecticut State University, which was a good opportunity for us to connect with community leaders and elected officials. And at the same time, you know, this is sort of a period for some of these legislative breakfasts. There was another one hosted by BioCT, which is the state's industry association for life sciences and biotech companies. And so it was interesting to attend that event and hear not just from Governor Ned Lamont, who was the keynote speaker, but several of the panelists at that event about how expanded air service at Tweed has a direct correlation and positive impact on their companies and their ability to fundraise, hire people, and grow. So it was always meaningful to hear those real life stories, you know, on what our expanded air service means for innovation. Then on January 23rd, we were joined by Commissioner Dan O'Keefe and Deputy Commissioners Paul Robertson and Matt Puglisi of the Department of Economic and Community Development for a conversation and tour of the airport to share more about our growth, economic impact, and role in continuing the positive momentum Connecticut is experiencing on that front. Lastly, on economic development, Michael Jones presented to the Greater New Haven Chambers Economic Development Committee, where members expressed great interest in the recent developments and future improvements underway here at the airport. On a few pretty fun developments, so tourism and marketing, we had quite a month. You know, we were excited to announce a new collaboration with the Office of Statewide Marketing and Tourism for Connecticut. And that is to refresh our Welcome to New Haven sign, which is right outside these windows here, and partner with local artist Michael Pollock to incorporate some pizza art and design throughout the airport as a way to promote New Haven and Connecticut's title as the pizza capital of the United States. These initiatives were unveiled by Governor Ned Lamont on National Pizza Day which was a fun, just another fun way for us to add a local experience for our passengers and especially our out-of-state travelers, who may be visiting this region for the first time, and could always use a little bit of an introduction to all the great things that we have going on here in the region. Then over the past week, we also celebrated a number of pretty significant milestones here at the airport. Firstly, on Valentine's Day, Avelo reached a landmark milestone of 3 million passengers since their inaugural flight in 2021. And that milestone coincided with their inaugural flight that morning from Tweed to Jacksonville. And in celebration of the day, we had partnered, which was not just a milestone day, but also Valentine's Day. We partnered with East Haven-based Petanito's Pastry Shop, and so thank you to them and their team for helping us share the love with our passengers with their cannoli stroller to hand out fresh cannolis to our passengers, which, as you can imagine, was pretty well received. But moving from that Friday, the day before Thursday, and into the rest of the President's Day weekend, I'll just kind of run through a few of the things that we had done since the holiday. So coming out of the holiday travel season, we took a lot of the lessons learned to implement a number of, kind of proactive measures that kind of helped pave the way for this past weekend, which, as Jeremy mentioned, was the single, record-breaking day for passenger traffic here at the airport. And so over the past several months, we have, implemented a number of measures, including prioritizing passengers in line with less than an hour before their flight. So kind of a board-by-flight procedure that we're implementing during peak travel periods, and that has helped us reduce some congestion and prevent missed flights. We also worked with the New Haven Police Department to hire an extra duty officer for traffic management at the exterior of the airport, and we'll continue to work with them during these peak travel periods. Since November 1st, we have increased our staffing here at the airport by 35%, which has allowed us to handle higher travel demand and increase our meaningful support and engagement with our passengers. We've also installed protective awnings and opened the airline ticketing counters 30 minutes earlier than previous. So those open now at 4 a.m., which is kind of expands the window for passengers to come in, check their bags, and get themselves situated. We also continue to reinforce the airline communications around arriving early and parking. And I'll touch on parking in a second, but we were full or at capacity most of the days of this past President's Day weekend. So it's really important for us to be able to communicate that. We worked also to send out a press release on the subject and just spread the word about that. We also worked to improve wayfinding and the sort of user experience, not just for navigating the airport, but also for accessing and getting to our off-site parking garage, which is on Temple Street. So just between the February 13th to the February 17th travel period, despite a 7% increase in passenger traffic compared to December's travel peak, that's that single day, our record-breaking day was on the 17th. So despite an increase in passenger traffic from the holidays today, our wait times at TSA did not exceed 80 minutes, which is a 35% improvement since the last peak travel period, which was in December. So again, total traffic is up and our wait times are down. So it just proves a lot of these procedures that we're implementing have resulted in some positive outcomes. And again, I'll touch on at the end a little bit, that doesn't mean that we get to let up. There are a number of other things that we're going to continue to implement to improve the overall passenger experience. As I mentioned, to touch on briefly, so our on-site parking lots were 97% full on average and reached full capacity Friday through Monday. So basically Thursday, the first day of the President's Day travel weekend was the only day where parking was not at capacity on site. And that was when we would direct passengers to Temple Street parking garage. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, Monday, the 17th was the record-breaking day. We served over 6,500 total passengers, which when you compare to the previous record on December 29th, was 6,300. So 200 more total passengers on Monday this week than we experienced on December 29th during the holiday travel season. So again, you can sort of get a sense of some of the proactive measures and the lessons that we took from the holiday travel period implemented in preparation for this peak travel period, and again, for future peak travel periods. And then just, again, pointing out that there are a number of other measures we'll continue to put in place starting today. A number of the airline schedules have been adjusted to sort of take what was essentially, sort of every 15-minute departure and move that to every 25 to 30 minutes. Some of those have taken effect today. They will take greater effect starting March 2nd. And so that will certainly help with congestion. And as Jeremy walked through, we're also working to reconfigure and redesign the TSA processing experience and capacity with sort of a target date of late spring, summer 2025. We're also continuing to work with the city on plans for traffic management, flow, and access in and around the airport, which we've covered previously, but just as a reminder, would include the construction of a roundabout at the corner of Dean and Burr Street and a restriping of the internal traffic flow here at the airport, which will provide a pretty significant step forward in our ability not just to process traffic, but to mitigate the congestion and backups that nearby residential streets experience. And so certainly that is top of mind for us on everything that we can do to address that. And this has been identified as the best path forward. So I have a few other things to run through, but I figured I would just take a quick pause. So I know it's a lot of information in case there are any questions or comments.
To this point, any questions or comments for Tom C?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Ken, please.
Tom, thank you so much. And I was happy to hear that Pet Nitos was at the airport promoting their business. As an advocate, my hometown of East Haven, I know advocating businesses, et cetera, in New Haven is paramount. But if East Haven's going to be a partner in this endeavor, I also like to see some promotion of East Haven businesses. We have good pizza in East Haven too, as some of my colleagues can attest to. So I'm going to suggest that you reach out to Rich Capola. I know a lot of you know Rich from Channel 8 and Fox News, who's now working for the town of East Haven in economic development and administration. I met with him last week to share some of my thoughts about promoting East Haven in regards to the airport. And if you would reach out to Rich to have a discussion about that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I absolutely will. And without any question, we have so many great cultural, culinary, historic assets in East Haven, and in the region that, for us as for us, it's really one of the greatest things about this job is the ability to promote and connect our passengers and a lot of people who just haven't experienced this region, with these great assets that we have. So certainly, we'll absolutely do that, and we'll certainly take any recommendations or introductions or to anybody who's listening on the call that may happen to be an East Haven business. Our line is and will always be open for partnership opportunities. So certainly we'll follow.
I really appreciate that. Again, we're going to, we will be, I'm sure, an important partner in the airport. And so advocating for my town is paramount to me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Tom, if I could, Ken, it's ironic, you mentioned that. So I was gonna tag on to Tom's report. There's a lot of great pizza in Connecticut, right? But I will mention Tolly's in East Haven. Whenever we have either a delay event, we call up Tolly's. Tolly's will pump out 30 pizzas in 45 minutes for us here, and we'll hand that out to customers. And that's really been a highlight for some people. It kind of makes their inconvenience a little bit more palatable. But Tolly's for one, there's several others we could mention, but They've
Yeah.
really come through for us on several occasions.
There's Little
Uh,
Columbia, there's Twin Pines Diner, there's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
many other opportunities,
absolutely.
including
So,
many opportunities in New Haven. I'm not begrudging that.
Yep.
But, we're 2 minutes outside the airport and there's, we want to make people aware that we exist as well. So,
Absolutely.
And I could
thank
just
you.
add to that, Judy Michelle. Yes, I'm on the Economic Development Committee. Besides Rich, someone could reach out to me. We're working very hard on the East Haven side to find businesses and find locations for businesses and kind of improving the look in general of our town. So I appreciate Ken speaking up, and similarly, I'm available for any ideas people have.
I'll certainly be reaching
What
out.
a catchy phrase for Rich in the future. Fly East Haven, by East Haven. Buy, eat, and dine in East Haven. Just a little catchy thing. So, anyway,
Thank you. Rich, you
I'll
have your hand up?
step off the stand now.
Rich, no.
I was just going to say to Ken that, Ken, I don't go out and have pizza very often, but when I do, I tend to go New Haven. So I was really going to ask you where I should go in East Haven, but now I've gotten a few recommendations. And I'll also say, I drive past Twin Pines and I often say, I got to stop there sometimes, and now I will.
Yeah. And John and Maria's on Route 80 in East Haven is
Okay.
really good too.
All right.
That's my preference.
All right, thanks.
All
Jeff.
right. Enough of the pizza talk.
Yeah, that's great. Any other
Thank
questions
you.
for Tom to this point? All right, Tom, you have a couple more points to make?
Yeah, so what I'm gonna do, so just quickly, on HEPA filters, so we're working with the city to finalize the next steps. On the rollout and schedule for the deployment of HEPA filters, so the air quality residential filtration program, or something that's not the most catchy. And so we'll certainly be providing more information as we finalize those details, but certainly will be a great opportunity and a great program for us to add to our community outreach. And then what I was going to do too, and I know we always want to be mindful of time. I do have an update and a presentation on our noise monitoring program. And so if that works, I'll kind of spin that up and run through it.
Okay.
Be mindful of our time and schedule.
Yes, so let's move that towards the other business.
Sure.
Okay, and we'll see where we are in terms of time. I do want to bring up, is that your report? Conclude your
Yeah,
report?
that would conclude my report.
So I do want to bring up this topic in terms of, we've had some terrible experiences in terms of air travel here in the United States, as well as our neighbor to the north recently, which has, I'm sure, created a lot of anxiety for air travelers. So if you could, Tom, or, I don't know if we want to push this over to Jeremy, can you speak to the new Sunflower program, what that looks like, and talk about the execution and the details?
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. And so one of the things that we've also done here at the airport is roll out, it's called the Sunflower program. And so part of that is a recognition that not all disabilities are visible. And that as an airport, we have a great care to our passengers and a great responsibility to make sure that their journey is as pleasant and as meaningful as possible. And so the Sunflower program is a sort of internationally recognized program in symbol for those who have hidden disabilities. So whatever form that might take for the individual. And so we've rolled that out to include sunflower lanyards, stickers, and name cards for passengers to pick up and to put on themselves through their journey. And then similarly for our staff to wear those sunflower symbols as a way to show our support and to signal to one another, not just that we're there for them, but if they might need a little extra hand during their travel experience, that they can discreetly signal to us as well, that they may have a hidden disability and could require a little bit of extra help. And so that has officially taken effect. So certainly invite all of our passengers and anybody who would be coming through here to take advantage, and just sort of know that our team here and airport staff are always available to do whatever we can to provide the most comfortable and supportive experience that we can.
Great. Thank you very much. Any other questions for Tom C? Community engagement, pizza, dining experiences? Any questions for Tom C? Great. Seeing none, we'll move to the next agenda item, which is reports and actions. So under reports and action items, there is a resolution, and I'll read the resolution. Resolution 619, which is approval of final fiscal year 2024 audit reports and PFC audits dated February 19th, 2025. It's short, so I'll read it in its entirety. Whereas the auditor, Michael Solkin, has reviewed the draft fiscal year 2024 audit report and affirmed its content, and whereas the authority board created the audit and finance committee to review financial statements and draft audit reports and PFC audits and make recommendations to the board, and whereas the audit and finance committee has reviewed with staff the draft for fiscal year 2024 audit report and the PFC audits and recommends that the board approve them as drafted, subject to final minor revisions to the committee may feel are necessary following board approval. And whereas the fiscal year 2024 audit report is required to be filed with the State Office of Policy and Management, and the PFC audits are required to be filed with the FAA, and whereas board members may benefit from an opportunity to submit comments on the audit to the Audit and Finance Committee following the board meeting. Now, therefore, it being resolved that the board, having reviewed the fiscal year 2024 audit report by the auditor and the PFC audits, hereby approves the fiscal year 2024 audit report and the PFC audits, subject to possible revisions as may be determined necessary by the Finance and Audit Committee, and any changes to the audits before submission to the appropriate authority shall be reported to the board at its next meeting. Is there a motion to approve this resolution? So moved. John Picard, so moved. Is there a second? Second by Michael.
Second.
Second, thank you, Serena. Second by Michael. In the room, all in favor, please raise your hand and signify by saying aye.
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 That motion has been approved. Thank you very much for your attention on that matter. Under other business, Tom, I'm going to make the recommendation, Chairman privileges, that we move your presentation to the next meeting.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. With that said, we will open up to public comment. Felipe. Felipe, is anyone in the queue? Okay, and then I want to make sure we get to those in the room. So after this person, we'll move to Rosa. So, good evening, Gloria Balachico.
Hello,
Is your
Gloria
name and address,
Balachico.
please?
Sure. Gloria Balachico, 300 Lighthouse Road, New Haven, Connecticut. Yeah, we're waiting on this meeting for this traffic circle that I hear you guys have already planned. There's supposed to be a follow-up meeting to the first meeting that was held in November. And we were promised another meeting with the engineer and the city folk, and I guess that went by the wayside. It's pretty upsetting because we're trusting you guys, and it's not acceptable to not honor your part or your whatever you say you're going to do. If you don't want to have the public meeting, just say you're not going to have a public meeting. Don't jerk us around. The second thing, somebody mentioned something about anxiety for your passengers. We also have anxiety here, living around the airport, when we hear missed landings in the fog. I know that the pilots know what they're doing, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know, maybe I need some sunflowers on my lawn. I like your idea, but there's also other people that should be included with that, and that's the residents. And as far as pizza goes, you guys need to try Zapardi's, and they're in West Haven. Forget New Haven pizza. It's the best pizza. Let's see, what else? me check my notes. And how is the city of New Haven able to manage to finish one project? It always seems like Tweed related. Carlos, you guys need to finish projects. You have so many going. I don't understand how you can continue with this traffic circle, send all these cars by the church, the school, the food pantry, the senior center. I think I've said this a million times, but nobody seems to care. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. I guess that's it. So we'll just sit and wait. I do appreciate, I'm not gonna let Tom Cavalier goes to our East Shore Management Team meetings, and we really appreciate that. He tries his best to keep us informed, but somewhere the ball is getting dropped, and I have a feeling it's not with Tweed. I think the city of New Haven is not getting their shit together, excuse my language, to set up that second meeting for public input, because it's very important that you have us, you know, like, make us feel like we matter. That's it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Gloria. Have a good evening.
Mr. Chair, this is Carlos. I'm sorry, I'm not on camera, but would you allow me to respond, because I do want to. I mean, I'm hearing what Ms. Belichico is saying, and I do have, and I just want to respond.
No, Carlos, if you don't mind, put your response in writing and submit it to Tom and Milena, and we'll get it to Gloria.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
All right, thank you. In the room, does someone have a public comment?
I'm a resident of East Haven.
Excuse me, can you step up to the microphone and state your name and address, please? Right here. Any one of these, right, the little round thing, please. Thank you very much.
Jane Bigler, 1 Burr Street, East Haven, Connecticut. I also am concerned about the traffic circle, the air traffic, the time that they are coming in and going out. I know you thought you were good neighbors, but apparently that's not going to last. To have flights coming in after 11 o'clock at night or taking off, if you don't live near the airport like I do, where they fly 4 houses away from me, they take off, you're not being good neighbors. And I will be going to my own town hall to speak to those 2 people that were recommended, the development gentleman and that woman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's alternate. Lisa Waring, could you please welcome? State your name and address, please. Lisa, can you hear us? Lisa, is your mic on? Hey, Lisa, we're going to put you back in the queue. All right, Felipe, let's go. No one else? All right, so another comment for someone in the room, please. Any comment? No? Any comment? No. All right.
Good afternoon, Tony Laurenti, Airline Pilots Association, 7950 Jones Branch Drive, Suite 400S, McLean, Virginia, the airport liaison representative on behalf of pilots and flight crew members. A true heartfelt professional level thank you to Jeremy and the team. The list is 5,600 feet long. The number of people who are responsible on a daily basis for safe airline operation flights. Jeremy regrettably mentioned the winter weather, of which I was a part of. And I can simply say, I'm very pleased at the level of expertise provided to myself, my crew, my passengers, and the direct benefit of the neighborhood in the safe operation, the critical moments of our flight in very inclement weather conditions. I would make a motion to move Tweed somewhere warm where the weather's always good, thank you. And crew members get pizza first. But with aviation safety under the public eye as of late, I cannot stress enough the level of involvement of countless people involved in the direct operation of an aircraft that we don't see. I have the good fortune to be at the front end of the aircraft and maybe have the most fun, if you will, but there's nothing more important than safety. I'll continue like a hawk to watch and listen to anything that I hear that indicates any level of misinformation about what I do and my fellow professionals do on a daily basis to keep everyone safe on that airplane and on the ground and in the area. So again, to emphasize, at whatever level I'm capable of as one individual, I will watch like a hawk to keep an eye on the things that are necessary to properly convey. It was mentioned, missed approaches, things of that nature. My cockpit door is open to whatever level I can provide without interrupting service, of course. I've done it numerous times. I've made opinion pieces to local periodicals. I'll continue to do so as your local pilot because I believe in safety and I care very much how those around my aircraft, and I can speak for my fellow pilots, we care how those around us feel regarding the operation of the aircraft, especially in light of what's happening. So I'll be on extra watch. But in summary, again, thank you very much for good breaking action reports while we circle up there at night. And unfortunately, sometimes we have to land at a time that's not ideal. Let's us not forget there's two human beings up there who would frankly rather be sleeping. We're human beings, but we're up there doing our job. And again, to be able to talk to you guys operations wise from well south of Long Island to move in and get those field conditions like we need. So thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Lisa, can you hear us?
Yes, can you guys hear me now?
We can hear you now. Please state your name and address for the record.
So Lisa Waring, I live at 135 Oakley Street. I'm 2 miles north of the airport. And frankly, a little bit nervous, my first time speaking at one of these meetings, but I felt like it was really important to chime in, give a balanced view of what I think the community's response to all of the late night air traffic has been. So yeah, talking about noise, this is one of the biggest concerns that the community has. And I just wanted to give everyone a reality check and balance out what is actually going on from our perspectives. So in the previous meeting, there was an action to decide how many homes would be included in the soundproofing, and now it comes out that there's only 6. So I am 2 miles north of the airport, and I'm woken up in the middle of the night by planes flying overhead. It's really, really loud. I've bought a calibrated sound meter, and it clocked 75 decibels inside my house with all of the windows closed. It's loud. And it's louder when you get closer to the airport. What's shocking to me is that the report says that the original scope is only 12 houses, and now we have another 6 houses that are going to be added to that. I just don't think it's nearly enough. And in terms of scheduling, we all have read the flashy press releases where they promise not to schedule late night flights, but that's far from the reality. We know that flights are delayed on a daily basis and that some are coming out at 4 in the morning, and the community is walking around and suffering like zombies. We're working under major sleep deprivation, and I would hope that you're aware of the effects of sleep deprivation on the health and emotional well-being have been well documented. As airport officials, you should know this. So I think it's definitely safe to say that whatever's planned to be done to soundproof the neighborhood and limit nighttime flights is completely inadequate. With that being said, I don't think this is the first time you've been made aware of the serious extent of this problem. But given the impressive financials this year, I'm just wondering what could be done to redirect some of that huge surplus towards alleviating some of the human suffering that you've caused? And what can we do to work with the airlines to stop scheduling flights that we know are going to be delayed late at night? Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Well done. You weren't nervous at all. Oh, okay. Nothing in the room. Okay, nothing in the queue. We'll wait a minute or two. Hi. Joe Giordano. State your name and address, please.
Hi, everybody. Joe Giordano. I live on Old Town Highway in East Haven. This will be really quick. I hate to tell Gloria and disagree with her, but Modern's the best pizza around, and that's where I'm heading to about 15 minutes. So she can have Zupardi's. I'm on my way to Modern, the best. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
I remain very partial to to the mashed potato and bacon pizza at Bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lorena, good to see you. State your name and address for the record, please.
It's Lorena Venegas, and my address is 73 George Street. Okay, so my comments today are that Yukon report, you spent over $70,000 and you didn't get the public a report. That's a failure. Number two, the noise data study was promised in the year 2024 and it hasn't been completed and given to the public. That's a failure. Number three, your financial audit has East Haven tax burdens that have not been explained to the public. And the community engagement person that's sitting there is not responding to any of the noise complaints in that new suite that you purchased. And there's no community meetings to explain to East Haven the process of the permits. That's a failure. The next is that web tracks. You should really try it, Mr. Reed. When you go on there, you cannot get any data out of it. You know, it's not the burden of the residents to prove what we know, which is that noise and air pollution have public health effects. So you are the ones who are supposed to provide the reporting and the data. It's not the burden of the resident living on Charter Oak to come up with a question to answer that data question. You have to provide that data and the solutions, and that has not been done. You know, a lot of you on this call voted for Trump, and a lot of the money for the airport is not going to come to the airport. Your sustainability plans that you had done with your consultants are not going to happen anymore. Those plans are going to be killed at the federal level. And Morgan, Goldman Sachs with the Merchant Bank division are not going to back you up either. And that's one of the reasons why Avport has again broken itself up into different LLCs that really hide a lot of those financial promises that were made in the year 2021. So I caution you to be smarter because you're not being transparent to the public. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorena. We want to talk steak and cheese subs.
Yeah. I'm just surprised nobody's mentioned Sally's.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's dinner time.
Everybody's talking about food.
Getting close, Serena.
I'm like, what is all the food talk today?
Give us another 60 seconds. How are we looking, Felipe? Okay. 5:07, I'm going to call the public comment portion of this meeting closed. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mike has been moved, seconded. Hey, Rich Jacobs, second the motion. Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned. We'll see you next month. Have a good evening.
Feel like peace in 2025.
All right.